Hi folks, I've reached the sort of age where it's recommended to keep your brain going by doing some activity like crossword puzzles or painting, etc. So giving it some thought, I've decided to go what I've called back to the future here. So the back bit is in the 1960s as a young boy, and alongside lots of British guys at the time and some girls as well. Airfix models were all the rage. You got an Airfix model and probably ripped the packaging out, stuck it together, didn't buy any paints because they were too expensive, stick a few decals on and tried to avoid all the glue you'd spilt all on the wrong parts. So these are some actual magazines I dug out of my loft from, look, 1968, Airfix magazine, 1968. And at the time, the go-to book was this, How to Go Plastic Modelling by Chris Ellis. He was the real authority for many years. I think he was editor at one time of Airfix magazine. I think he passed away in the fairly recent past. So that was the main book to start you on the hobby. I did a bit of that. I didn't really progress that far because other things come along in life, like pubs and discotheques and young ladies. My kids would help me say discotheques. So that's the back bit. So the future is to restart that, and my ambition is to have a go at making this. Now, this box is actually from 1990. We bought it, I think, for our son. It never got made. Dennis fire engine. Classic Dennis pump escape, as they're called, with the wheeled escape on. But that's a bit too ambitious for me right at this point in time, so I've got to build up to that and try and this is 1/32 scale. I think how many parts? I think it even tells you here. I think, yeah, 144 parts, and this would be classed, by looking at things today, I think a level 3. You know, quite a complicated build that would be for me, certainly at this stage. So instead of that, I mean, Airfix, you know, were in their heyday in the 60s. Unfortunately, they went right down. But they made a massive revival in the last few years. Obviously, people are going away a little bit from just being online on games and stuff like that, want to get back to making things. So they've come out with what they call a starter set. And the classic modelling kit, of course, is Spitfire, isn't it? Actually, my son bought me this to try and get me back into it. And the starter kit comes with, obviously, all the kit. It even comes with the paints, Umbral paints, which are now part of the same group. Airfix is owned by Hornsby Group, and paintbrush and adhesive all in one box. And they've designed this kit, they've simplified it anyway, not just this one, other ones in the starter kit, to make it as simple as possible to make and paint. And on the back they've put, you know, the paint scheme, the camouflage, the right numbers, and the instructions are very clear on this as well. So that's the ambition, to have a go at that. Now, to try and do that properly, a lesson from the past is that I don't know how many DIY projects, etc., or not modelling but DIY projects I've tried to do, not had the right tools. Obviously financial constraints come into all this, don't they? And then if I made a bodge job, blame it on the fact that I didn't have the right tools. So on this I'm starting off in a different way. So I've just got this book, the latest book from Airfix. They now have a new magazine called Model World, and this was a series in there, and then they've put it together in a book, which I've just received. If you see the black paint, by the way, that's house painting, not model painting yet. Hopefully I won't be that bad on the models, but who knows. So I'm going to read through this, because this does give, you know, all the right information. So that'll be an interesting read. And then I've put some tools together, so let's have a look at that. for a start, I've managed to repurpose my one of my daughter's tool paint box from, again, don't know how many years ago, but it was stuck in the garage, in the loft in the garage, so I cleaned it up, brought it out, and I'm going to use this. So in here I've actually got some tools, general tools, plus ones I've just bought to make up everything you supposedly need. So a craft knife, that was only £4. There's a big shop called Hobby World. Screw fix, these are solid cut pliers to cut what's called the sprue. Small pair of pliers from the garage just for small bits. Pair of low cost scissors, £1 for them. Another sort of craft knife, the usual retractable sort, but for small stuff, this is what he seems to be always recommended, a craft knife. I did have a craft knife from Swan & Morton many years ago. Still got the box, lost the knife. These are nail files, because again, sanding down perhaps where you've cut the parts off the sprue, it just needs sanding. So some nail files, some classics sandpaper, this is 180, which is pretty fine. And then some of these tools I actually had originally, still got them. Pin chuck or pin drill, I haven't got any drills to go with that yet. And a little file again, but I use this for lots of different things over the years. Again, another one. Little pair of tweezers. Things like small screwdrivers for whatever reason. Little steel rules. Again, if you're cutting using that craft knife. And again, this is really aimed of, you know, maybe my generation who want to get back into modelling, thinking about something like that. But if you are a lot younger, then you know you might need parent supervision to handle some of this stuff, obviously particularly the knife. So just think about that if you're thinking about, you're the opposite end of the scale, you're the young end and you want to get into modelling. Now there's lots of stuff on YouTube, obviously I'm looking at that, lots of hints, and Airfix have their own YouTube channel and they show you, you know, how to put together their model, particularly for example this Spitfire. So that will be interesting to do. Something else I've made is a workbench, so to speak, to avoid getting paint and glue everywhere, which hopefully I won't get paint and glue everywhere, but in case I do, I've created this. So look, an old tea chest, again found it in the garage, and I've been out and bought what they call these self-healing mats, so when you cut it, it heals itself, so to speak. I just made this little sort of paint holder just to try and keep them under control. These at the front are the ones you get with the starter kits, and then if you buy other paints, and I just bought this paint for a reason, you can buy these in little tins like this, and they also do little bottles now as well. Now you do get this glue with the kit, but from experience and what everybody says, which is true, that's very easy to start putting far too much on. So I did buy separately this what they call precision poly cements, the same stuff really, I think a bit thinner, and then it's got a nozzle and applicator, so I might try and start off with that. So that's it. What else? Well, some cocktail sticks, again they're supposedly to help put the glue on the painting front. Some masking tape, but again you can get special models masking tape, but this is just the low cost stuff from the local Screwfix hardware shop. Another set of brushes, again low cost stuff, this was like £4 for these, so I'm not just reliant on the Humbrol brush. Q-tips to help with the decals. That's about it really. So hopefully that's all going to be enough to get me going and produce, hopefully, fingers crossed, a decent Spitfire. These are just to hold, you know, water or maybe other small parts or things like that. I think with it, these are acrylic paints, so you can just wash them out in water. You don't need white spirit. The enamel probably would need white spirit. And then I just made these so that these are, you know, got a paintbrush of paint on. I can just put them in there rather than just lay them on this mat or on the table. So there we go. I'll do this video in parts. So obviously finances come into all this, don't they? But you can get started really, you know, without a lot of this stuff. I think basically a pair of scissors and a brush would be probably the basic you really need. I've invested a little bit more because, as I said, I want to make sure try and start off in the right way, and having the right tools on any job does make a massive difference, I've found over the years. So what else? Yeah, in terms of costs of kits, say for example, I think Airfix sell these for like £11 something, these starter kits, but this hobby shop in the UK is doing a 3 for 2 deal. So if you did buy 3 models, that's bringing that price down individually to what, something like £7 something. And then at Christmas time, some of the big value chains like Aldi and Lidl have done some bulk buying with Airfix, and they sell off these sort of kits. And I think, you know, I never really looked at them past because I wasn't really considering going back into them, but I think they were selling for like £6 or something. So we'll have to see. I'm doing this in September 2025. I think it said 2005, 2025. I'll have to see what comes out of Aldi. Obviously, one reason to do this as well is during the, you know, dark winter months. It's an activity you can do inside. Let's see how I get on. I don't think I'm going to get up to, you know, the real professional modelers that you see on YouTube by far. I think this is just another hobby to have a go at and see how I get on with it actually. So this is part 1, just all the stuff I've got together. I'll probably put the costs in the description to give you an idea of how much I've spent so far, and then move on to actually starting making the kit, and then filming. I won't film it, you know, blow by blow account I think, but just film the start and then instructions etc, and move it from there. Okay, in the interim, take care out there, and let's see what I can do with the submarine Spitfire.